This is A's Cast Live, your comprehensive look at the Oakland Athletics.
Rooker, it's a 5 on a deep center. Robert going back at the track. He will turn and watch it fly.
And 29 other MLB clubs.
Dolis Garcia sends one the other way. That sends Carroll back. He's at the wall. Ronald Acuna, another milestone in a truly historic season.
Julio with an absolute nuke out to left field.
It's Glaber Day. And like a good Glaber, Torres is there.
Join us as we take you inside the baseball universe. From humidors to Stuff Plus to walk-off dingers, we have you covered. Spend your afternoon with us, only on A's Cast Live. Here's Chris Townsend.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to another edition of A's Cast Live. We are in San Francisco as the Athletics will be taking on the Chicago White Sox for 3. And the very rare, and you're going to hear from Mark Kotsay, the very rare staying in one city for a week. It happens in the Bay Area for visiting teams. It happens in L.A., it happens in Chicago, and it happens in New York. Because I don't think if you were playing the Nats and the Orioles, you would stay in one spot. Because Baltimore's about, I've done the train, and it's about 40, 45 minutes outside of D.C. Well, I've only done the train. I don't know what it is by car. But we've seen this before. I can't remember the last team. I think it might have been the Texas Rangers when C.J. Nikowski was still at the Rangers, where the Rangers were at the St. Francis for a week. They came, they played the A's, and then took on the Giants. I think it'd be the last time we saw this, but it's a really cool thing. I remember this happened probably about before COVID, probably like 2018, 2019. The A's did this before in Chicago.
The Pirates just did it this year. They were here. They played the Giants and us. So that would have been the most recent one, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's really cool because you're in one of the big cities in our country. A lot of the wives and family friends and everybody will go on these trips. And, you know, for baseball players who live this nomad lifestyle, that they get to hang out in the same hotel. You actually get to have like plans. And when you're in Chicago loves day games. So you'll have some day games and you'll have the day games over the weekend, right? When's the game tomorrow?
I think it's a 4:00 game.
No. Oh, it's a 4:00 game Sunday though. So like cool. Like Sunday's like an 11:00 game.
Let me make sure, you know.
No, it is. Cause Cal tomorrow night. Yeah. So tomorrow's a 4:00 game. Sunday will be a 1:00 start Central Time for them. So you can plan for dinner. You can have a Sunday night dinner in Chicago. So it's really cool. So we'll talk to Mark Kotsay about that. He's never done it in his career before. So happy for these guys. I mean, this has been when it comes to trips, I know fans really don't care about it, but when it comes to trips, I think about the trip to Toronto and New York. That was a great trip for the traveling party where you got to take on the Blue Jays and the Mets. But here where everybody gets to hang out in Chicago, pretty cool stuff. And we got a great show for you today. Mark Kotsay is going to be here. We've had some issues the last couple of days to come clean. We've had technical issues, and I got violently ill. So we really haven't had a show the last few days. So not everybody has gotten to see what we did with Eric Byrnes and Adam Rosales. So we will have that officially today here on the show. So then we can also take this and put it on A's Cast and put it on Twitter, X, and also put it on YouTube.
Yeah. The nice thing is that people if they've missed the interviews with Byrnes and Rosales, if you are going to want to watch them today, great. We're going to play Rosie here in a couple minutes, and then we'll play Eric Byrnes at the bottom of the hour at 2:30. But they're on YouTube right now. So if you want to see Byrnes or Rosales, they're both live up there. If you, for some reason, miss it and can't see it today. So those are up there. I put them up there the other day. And I take full responsibility for the technical part of what happened. You know, we went through and we fixed my computer. I got my personal computer backed up as our backup computer. So we're good to go. Well, knock on wood. We're good to go. I shouldn't have done that. Shouldn't have done that. Could have knocked us up. We're good, though.
Yeah, don't touch anything. We've learned. Don't touch anything. Don't do anything. Panic. Yeah, and then I just got really sick and flu blood going around, and so it is what it is. So we're playing hurt today, and like the worst thing in the world. See, it's one thing when you're sick and then you're just on radio, no one sees you. Like when things aren't going good, and then you got to get on camera, and I got to be on NBC tonight and tomorrow with Pip Roberts. We'll see how it works out. And the voice, when you get that sick, it affects your voice. So we're hanging in there. We've had a couple issues into the season, but the good thing is the A's haven't.
Not at all. And I sent this to you yesterday, and I could tell you're blown away by the text I sent, but Brent Rooker trying to join some elite Oakland A's lore. And
there's
season.
Something really to this that plays in Rooker's favor.
So Rooker is trying to become.
Do you have the graphic put up?
I don't.
This will tell you that Brent Rooker
was MLB North, right? I can probably grab it real quick.
Is having one of, no doubt, the greatest years in this organization's history.
Yeah, give me a second to get it, and I'll be able to pull it
up. When you sent me this, I was like, wow. Because obviously, when we've looked at great years, going back, recently Marcus Semien had an unbelievable year where Marcus Semien finished third. Was he second or third behind?
Third
behind. It was Trout Bregman.
Yeah.
Marcus Semien, obviously you look at the Reggie Jackson MVP year, the Jason Giambi MVP year, the Miguel Tejada MVP year. No one will forget the greatness of Jose Canseco and the 40-40 year, and a year where your team goes to the World Series. It was that we've had some unbelievable years, but when you look at this, the thing that stood out watching this, and if you're just listening on A's Cast, so the graphic says A's with a 300 batting average, 30 home runs, and 100 RBIs. It's Miguel Tejada, Jason Giambi 3 times, Mark McGwire, and Jose Canseco. So if you can't see this and you're just listening, that's the graphic we're showing right now. Athletics to hit 300 or more, 30 or more home runs, and 100 or more RBIs.
Since the expansion era in 1961.
So Tejada in 02, Giambi 01, 2000, and 1999, McGwire in 96, and Jose Canseco in 1988.
Pretty elite A's lore, I would say, right?
You are talking about, it's a who's who list. You're talking about greatness there. Now, what stood out for me immediately was Brent Rooker's the one guy doing it clean.
Yeah, you sent that to me, and I was like, you know what? You're not wrong.
Yeah,
You're not wrong.
And I hate that was the first thing I thought, and why. Put that Rooker back up. I want to. If you really look at it, I have
to go back and find it. Hold on.
Brent Rooker is the one guy that I can look at and I can go, and I'm not trying to take anything away from anybody. I'm trying to highlight Brent Rooker and what he has done this year. But looking at this, Brent Rooker. We know Canseco. We know McGwire, especially at that time. Jason Giambi, let's be honest. I played against Jason Giambi when he was at Long Beach State. Jason Giambi looked nothing like himself when he was an A compared to what he was as a Giambi was a legit Team USA, great college baseball player, and he got into the clubhouse of the A's, and he looked like a monster, like a different guy. Miguel Tejada lied about his age and did PEDs. When I first saw Miguel Tejada, he was playing for the Modesto A's. I was doing the San Jose Giants.
That would have been the mid to late 90s, right? Late 90s?
No, that would have been
because Tejada debuted in 90?
Probably be like 96, 97, right around in there.
Okay, so mid 90s ish.
And I remember everybody was praising Tejada as this great player who was 20 years old, and he was leading the Cal League in home runs, which the Cal League usually was guys who were a little bit older. Well, clearly he wasn't 20 years old, right? So he wasn't the age he said he was, and by the time he was with the A's at this point, who knows? We know later on he'd be popped.
Yeah, but the season Rooker's having 298, 36 homers, 102 RBI so far this year, and he's coming into a series against the White Sox, who, believe it or not, they've only lost 16 games in a row at home.
Rooker. Here's a couple stats for you on Rooker.
Or we go with the, can I take the graphic down, or you want?
No, leave it up. I think it says a lot. Let's talk about Rooker. Rooker since July 1st has 21 home runs and an OPS of 1,077. That's the third best in baseball. Brent Rooker on this 20-game on-base streak is hitting 341. Did you also know for the season, Brent Rooker is hitting 341 with runners in scoring position?
It's pretty good. I mean, because remember last year we were talking about how the guy, our best hitter with runners in scoring position was Esteury Ruiz. And funny how things have changed. Rooker, you mentioned it the other day. We talked about it the other day, but Rooker has just become a complete hitter with the way he's taking the ball the other way, his infield hits. It's been great to see what he's done, and hopefully he can carry it into next year. And maybe that gets him a pay raise down the road. And he's a guy you look at long, I wouldn't say long term because he's 29, but a guy you lock up for a few years and go from there. But he's been on an unbelievable run, and he showed the consistency of him growing each year that he's been in here playing for the A's.
It's pretty amazing. I mean, it is pretty amazing when you look at the names and what he's doing. And in an era where we talk about all the time, this is a low run scoring environment. So the more home runs and the higher your average you hit, the more impressive it is. Like when Giambi's doing this, can you put that back up? Can we see it? When Giambi's doing this is the height of the steroid era.
Yeah.
Right? He's not the only guy doing this.
He did it 3 years in a row too.
There was a lot of guys doing. Yeah, Giambi's PEDs. Giambi's got. I mean, these guys are. I mean, Mark McGwire in 1996. You remember how big he looked at that point? I mean, these guys are full on PED guys. Jose Canseco admits it. Quite proud of it.
That's also his 40-40 year when he did it.
So it's like what Rooker's doing is and not having the talent around him. And not being able to play in the outfield and doing it as a DH, I don't know how many MVP votes he's going to get, but it's going to be nice to see him get some, deservedly so. And what does an MVP do? He makes his team better.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say
you can't say that a team that won 50 games last year has now improved by what?
14.
They had 64 now.
I think we have 64, right?
Yeah, 60. I mean, that's a huge improvement. So Rooker has truly helped this team improve. That's what a most valuable player is. I wouldn't vote for him for it, obviously. I think there's guys who are more deserving, but I mean, he should get some votes. There's no question about it.
Yeah, he'll be a guy that, maybe gets votes in the 10s and maybe low 20s, like where he finishes. He might finish higher than that. I mean, he's also looking to become the first A since Josh Donaldson to hit 300 in the season. It's been over 11 years since we've had a player hit 300 for the Athletics, which is pretty remarkable. Because you remember the year Marcus Semien had in 2019, how great it was, all the runs scored, the RBIs, the home runs, but he hit like 286, I think, that year, which is still respectable, but it wasn't 300. So seeing what Rooker's going to be able to do this year for a guy that barely made the team last year on the last day to what he's done now, it's a really good story.
Yeah, it's like a dream story. And yeah, he's arbitration. He's going to make good money. I don't know if they want to rip that up and give him a couple of years and get him out of that. We'll see what they're going to do with that. But he's definitely going to get a major pay raise. There's no question.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, deservedly so. It'd be different if he was just begging for a pay raise and he was hitting 250 with 25 homers and 63 RBIs. And he's like, you know what? I need $15 million a year. Well, I don't know.
Well, and what will the baseline be? Right now that we've seen, you've got the numbers of what Brent Rooker did in his time with the Twins and the Padres and the Royals, and then now you have what he did last year, and now what you've done this year. Okay, so what's the baseline? Right? He is right in the middle of his prime. This is his prime. So the next couple of years, you hope 30, 31, maybe the prime continues into 32, 33. But this is, this window of 27 to 32, he's right in the middle of his prime. So what will you be able to count on like next year will he be able to put up something close to this? Can it be better? Can it be, anything close to this is, fantastic. Look at the numbers. He's going to be going into a more hitter environment next year up at Sutter Health. Is it Sutter Health Ballpark?
I think Sutter Health Park, right?
Sutter Health Park up in Sacramento. So he's going to be going into a more offensive, conducive
park.
Ballpark. So, the numbers could stay the same, which is just, and let's say this, if the team is a lot better next year from a standpoint of, okay, let's say they do flirt with around 500 or a little bit better. And as we know, just looking at the standings now, that if you are flirting with 500, you are still in that mix right now for a wild card. Look at the Boston Red Sox. The Red Sox and the Mariners are one game over 500. They're only 4.5 back. Now, it's a slight chance, but they got a chance. So if you're a team that's going to be 500 or better next year, and he has a year like this, he will truly be an MVP candidate.
Yeah, and it's crazy. You go back, you look at the guy, like you look at the years Chris Davis had, and I don't know if people really drawn the parallels to Rooker and Davis. But, Chris Davis put up the home runs and the RBIs, but he didn't have the batting. He hit 247. Rooker's going to hit close to 300. And then if he does this again next year, it's different than what Chris Davis did, in my opinion, because he's doing it with the batting average. He's taking the ball the other way. He's doing it with, you might have lesser numbers, but he's doing it with a higher batting average. Probably he's going to have a higher slugging or an OPS. I won't mention on base and slug. We'll just say we'll combine them for OPS. Rooker's going to be a different player, and he's going to be playing in the field again next year, so he's going to be even more valuable when he's back playing in the outfield. Theoretically, if he will be back playing in the outfield, but we got to see him get back out there and what he's able to do. But that'll just improve his value to the A's substantially. Yeah,
and something we don't talk a lot about, and they don't harp on it. I know Kotsay likes to bring it up just to give kind of people an idea of that. Yeah, he is playing hurt. He has an arm issue that is going to have to get resolved in the offseason. Don't quote me, but I do think surgery will be involved. So it just kind of shows you what he's gutted through, can play through. And then next year, yes, when we talk so much about how does next year look? Well, how's the outfield going to look? Andujar's going to be back. And yeah, at some point you want to utilize the DH position. And we've talked to Mark Kotsay about this. The days of going out and getting a DH is really something you don't want. You want to have the flexibility with that position. You'd like Rooker to be able to go out and play some outfield. Maybe Andujar spends a little more time at DH. You give Shea Langeliers a lot more time to be able to get off his feet and take the gear off and just allow him to get 4 at-bats in a game. Or with certain right-handed pitching, you may want Brian McCann to get in there and DH as a left-handed bat.
Kyle,
I'd like to see him. I'd like to see him hit more.
Yeah, same. We've been talking about that since the beginning of the season. So yeah, you'd love to see him get more opportunities for sure.
Right. So the DH taking Rooker out of that will be really good for the Athletics and be good for Rooker. But let's enjoy the year he's having though.
Yeah. Speaking of DH, not to go down the rabbit hole of Ohtani, but apparently I saw John Morosi tweeted. Apparently the Dodgers are toying with the idea of him pitching in the postseason this year.
Wow, that is so trolling. That is so trolling.
See if I can find that. Get the exact verbiage from our good friend John Morosi.
When did he have Tommy John?
It was last September, I would say, right? Because remember he was out for like the last month of the year. Remember they made all those moves and they started DFAing everyone. So it was like end of August, early September.
But did we ever really get what procedure he had?
I'd have to look. The Dodgers haven't ruled out the possibility of Ohtani pitching in the 2024 postseason per this MLB Network. He was on it. Someone was on MLB Network radio earlier talking about it. Who was it? Who was the guy? Dave Roberts mentioned it.
Well, isn't what's his name making his debut?
Oh, DeGrom, he is back. Yeah,
DeGrom's making his debut tonight. Now that was full on Tommy John surgery again. I'm not sure.
It just says on the LA Times has elbow procedure, expects to play next season.
We never got, because remember when they had that press conference in Los Angeles, he would never say, they wouldn't exactly tell you if it was full blown Tommy John. So now full-blown Tommy John now is not only the ligament replacement, but it's also the bracket, right?
Dr. Keith Meister, right?
And we just had Gott on the program not too long ago, our reliever who had it from Dr. Meister. And Trevor Gott talked about it and said, yeah, when you get the brace, pretty much guarantees you're good for a long, long time. Ohtani has had Tommy John surgery. He had another procedure that was something like, I don't know if it's the brace, something happened. So maybe that is a possibility. I'll tell you what, it'd be great for our sport.
Yeah.
It would be great for our, if you could get, as we just showed you the other day, how last year's World Series had 9 million people watching it, which is way down from what it used to be. Week 1 of the NFL, the average was over 20 million people are watching every game.
21 to be exact.
So years ago, they used to have 30 million people watching the World Series. If Shohei Ohtani could come back and pitch in the playoffs in relief.
Yes, that's what it needs to be. Like we saw in the World Baseball Classic.
In relief. How many eyeballs does that bring back to our game? I think, you know what? We should root for it.
Oh, yes. Because plus the Dodgers need the pitching. I'm not trying to make excuses for the team to spend the most money in baseball, but they could use the pitching, and getting a guy like Ohtani back to pitch in the back end of your bullpen to go along with guys like Trinan and Daniel Hudson. That could be really good for the Dodgers, and even more so good for the health of our sport to have people watching the playoffs again and watching the World Series if the Dodgers get there, because that's kind of what the sport's lacking right now.
What did you tell me earlier today? ESPN had something about
most exciting player. They did a whole bracket about who's the most exciting player in baseball.
Most exciting player in baseball. We're driving up now to San Francisco, and he asked me this question. What did I say?
I told you it was not Ohtani. And you said what did you say it was a flawed list?
It's a fraud list. If you're saying the most exciting player in baseball is not Shohei Ohtani, you're kidding yourself.
Look, here we go. We're just talking about Rooker. Front page MLB, the MLB page on ESPN.com. No one hits 300 anymore except these guys. And we're talking about Rooker trying to do it, and it's showing Altuve and Yordan Alvarez. Cool. But there's not that many guys that are hitting 300. When I looked at before,
says a lot about Rooker. Says a lot about Rooker's 298 right now.
Yeah. Here. Who is MLB's most exciting player? And they did a whole bracket, and I think they did players from like every team almost, because they had Mason Miller on there for us, and they had Crochet on there for the White Sox. I think they did every team. Like Ben Joyce was on there for the Angels. And it came down to the final being Bobby Witt Jr. versus Ellie De La Cruz.
Wonderful athletes.
But I think I'm going to take Ohtani.
Ohtani's an international superstar.
And he's going to be, I'll say it, he's going to be a 50-50 guy.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
There's not a better athlete than him. Like Bobby Witt Jr. is incredible. You could make a case Bobby Witt Jr. should be the MVP. But if we're just talking about most exciting, I mean, if you're telling me I got to spend $500 to watch one guy play right now, who am I going to spend it on?
I'd go with Ohtani.
Shohei Ohtani. This guy's amazing. This guy's literally the greatest athlete we've ever seen play baseball. And to think what kind of position player he could be. I mean, remember, folks, he's 6'5", right? Is he 6'4"?
I think he's 6'4".
He is a big man who runs like the wind that has this extreme power. There's nobody like him.
The Final Four is Judge versus Bobby Witt Jr., Mookie versus Ellie De La Cruz.
And I'm sorry, I'd rather watch Aaron Judge. He's a freak.
Well, the bracket was flawed because they had Ohtani go up against Ellie De La Cruz.
I mean, Aaron Judge is a 6'7". He's the biggest human being ever to play. He's a freak. You're trying to tell me I don't want to watch that? Play center field?
Yeah, he's exciting. There's the MLB Notes had a whole thing about today's Bernie Williams' 56th birthday, and it broke down every guy to play like center field primarily for the Yankees since then. And Judge is climbing up the leaderboard for them. Because obviously the leader would be Brett Gardner.
Oh, in games played.
Games played, yes.
I was about to say in talent. What?
Oh, yeah, it's Judge. Wait, you don't think Brett Gardner was better than Aaron Judge?
I loved what a red ass he was.
I loved him in the dugout.
Oh my God, he was such a red ass. I mean, when he would just attack the bat rack after striking out, you love playing with a guy like that.
I could see it for sure.
And you totally love playing it because he brings it every day. He brings it every day, and everybody said he was a great teammate. I mean, yeah, he's a hothead, but you love those guys because he's coming to win every single day.
Yeah.
And let me tell you something. When he hits the home run, because there was a time where he started hitting home runs, man, he was like Adam Rosales, speeding around the bases. He's a team first win guy. And when he doesn't do well, he freaks out. And you know what? And it brings guys that are like that at times. It makes things a little lighter because everybody laughs at it. You know, when you got a guy who freaks out, and I know like everybody shows the cameras and everything, a lot of these guys, they think it's funny. It lightens the mood.
Yeah. Oh no, for sure. That's why I think when Boone goes out there and he starts yelling that my guys are bleeping savages in the box and his ejections, I think the players like that. I mean, he's been ejected more than anyone since he took over. I'm pretty sure. So
who?
Aaron Boone.
No.
Who's been ejected more than Boone?
Bell, Cincinnati. That guy's been.
I know
he's set like records.
I know, but Boone's been there longer, so that's why I said
Boone hasn't actually been thrown out in a while. Check it, fact check it. I guarantee you, Bell is the leader in the clubhouse by a lot.
Let me do Boone first.
Can you look it up?
It'll be on Baseball Reference. It says like how many times they've been ejected. You have to go to like their managerial record. Boone has been ejected 39 times since he took over as the manager of the Yankees. David Bell, managerial. Let's see. And we'll see how many times David Bell has been. David Bell took over. It's close. He took over in 2019. He's been ejected 32 times. Boone has a head start on him, though.
Yeah, it's got to be apples to apples.
Boone's been there since 18, so he's a year on David Bell.
And how many more does he have?
7. So you know.
So I win percentage wise.
Yes. 32 to 39 to 32. Yeah. They're the leaders in the clubhouse for the AL and NL.
I'm telling you, David Bell's on a Bobby Cox like pace. he's slowed up, but he's been on like a Bobby Cox like pace. Anything we want to hit before we go? Are we going to Burnsy first?
Do you want to do Rosie or Byrnes?
Let's do Eric Byrnes, because obviously last time we saw a hitting streak like Lawrence Butler, it was Eric Byrnes. Do you realize in 2 games, you want to know how cruel the math is in baseball?
Tell me.
2 days ago, Lawrence Butler during his hitting streak was hitting 392.
Pretty incredible. We're just talking about how guys don't hit 300 anymore.
Now, he's extended the hitting streak 2 straight days, but he's dropped all the way to 373.
I mean, I'd probably take him out of the lineup then.
And it just goes to show, I mean, how fast it's so hard to build up an average, and it shows you how fast all of your numbers can drop. But during his hitting streak, he's hitting 373, an OPS of 1,161, 8 home runs, 16 extra base hits, 14 RBIs. He's been fantastic. And it's brought everybody up to Eric Byrnes. Eric Byrnes, the last guy, what he hit for 22, I believe it was?
Yeah.
Byrnesy?
Yeah, he's the last guy to do it because Butler just passed Marcus. Didn't Tejada have a hitting streak too in 2001 or 2? But yeah, what Lawrence Butler's been doing is great and ties in perfectly with Eric Byrnes. By the way, I want to look. There are 8 guys in Major League Baseball hitting 300 right now. 8, and 3 of them are on Houston Astros.
Who's been one of the hottest teams this year?
The Astros, because they're hitting.
Why do the Astros always seem to get to the ALCS?
Because they hit. They don't strike out.
They hit, and they hit, and they hit, and they hit. So yeah, they hit for power, but they hit, and they don't strike out, and they grind you.
Pretty sure they're like second. They're like one of the low. I'm looking at
They have been one of the top teams in batting average. For all the people who say batting average doesn't matter, they've been one of the top teams in batting average now for years.
Yeah, the Astros right now are third, and they're the best team in the American League, third overall in baseball with a 262 team batting average.
So batting average doesn't matter. Okay, the hottest team since June, July is the Padres.
Yeah, followed closely by the Diamondbacks.
And who are the top 2 teams in batting average?
Padres, Diamondbacks.
And then who's third?
Houston.
Then who's fourth?
Philly.
And then who's fifth?
Boston.
Who has also been hot in the second half. I mean, all these teams, it's just whenever people say batting average doesn't matter, it's like, what are you talking about? Where are the A's in batting average?
This is legal. This is Major League Baseball wide. The A's are 25th to 234. Yeah.
That's why we're one of the lowest side we don't score.
Yeah, when it comes to runs scored, the A's are.
Yeah, we're terrible.
The A's are 26th in baseball.
We're 26th in baseball, and we're going to have 200 home runs.
Yeah.
Like it's going to be the thing to address in the offseason. And when we have our, winter meetings and we talk to everybody, it's like, hey, you're the lowest scoring 200 home run hitting team of all time. Think about that. There's been other teams who have hit 200 home runs. Out of all the teams that have hit 200 home runs, the A's are going to be one of them. They'll be the lowest scoring. That does not, you don't want to hang your hat on that. That's a lot of solo bombs.
It is. I think I updated it since the game the other day because there was 2 solo home runs yesterday. I think we're up to, I want to say it's 186 team homers, 102 of them are solo.
How are we? I mean, think about it. We're 4th in baseball in home runs.
I think it's either 4th or 6th. 5th. We're tied for 5th with the Braves.
We're tied for 5th in home runs, but yet we're 26th in runs scored.
Guys got to get on base more.
If your offense is just you drop back and throw it deep, and every once in a while someone catches it, and that's how you score touchdowns, you're not going to win a lot of games doing that.
I know. Ask a lot of the college programs to run the air raid.
You got to be able to get first downs. You got to have you got to have time of possession. You got to sustain drives. You got to keep your defense off the field. You want to be dynamic. You want to be able to throw the ball, run the ball, throw it deep, intermediate, throw it out. You want to be able to do a lot of different things. You want to have a good screen game. You want to have a diverse offense. And I say that, and all of you are football fans that go, yeah, of course. Then I go, well, why wouldn't you want that in baseball? Why do you understand that if I have a basketball team, I want to be able to hit threes, and I want to be able to run the floor. I want to be able to fast break. I want to be able to get easy twos. I want to dump it down to somebody who's got some size and he can get me an easy two. And I want to hit threes. And you go, yeah, you want a versatile. So why do we accept that in other sports? We know we want to have a versatile offense in football. We know we want to have a versatile offense in basketball. I mean, basically, we're like a bad version of the old Houston Rockets that could only shoot threes. And once everybody figured out, hey, all these guys can shoot threes, go out and defend them, they were done. They couldn't beat you.
I can't believe you're slandering my good friend Daryl Morey like that.
I'm just saying.
But they never won anything. They couldn't get past the Warriors, who also shot threes but played good team basketball.
You want it. However you score in your sport, right? Touching home plate, getting the ball in the end zone, putting it in a basket. You want to be versatile doing it. And the best teams are going to be versatile. Who's versatile year in and year out? Or at least for the last 8 years, that has been the Houston Astros. They can go long ball with you. They can grind at bats. They got a bunch of guys who make contact. And that's why they're so tough in the postseason. And what have we been built on? One thing, home run. Well, 2 things, home runs and walks. And we've had a lot of early exits.
But you're saying walks. I'm trying to see where we're at real quick before we get
I'm going to say we're midway.
We're 13th in baseball.
In walks.
Yeah.
This is not good enough. It's not good enough. And that's why it's great that what Butler has brought and what Rooker's bringing. And, Geloff has got to hit more. Right? Hopefully Jacob Wilson will hit more. So like the pieces you start to see could be there, right? I mean, these guys got to hit more. If you're going to be a legit offense, you're not going to, I mean, we're going to sit here and praise them, and we should, but when you're 20, the name of the game is to prevent the other team from scoring and you scoring. And you're 26th in runs scored. Do you know how good for you to really be competitive, do you know how good your pitching would have to be?
Yeah. Look at Seattle. They can't score runs. They don't hit.
They're one-dimensional the other way.
Yeah.
Right? They're great pitching and they can't hit. Being one-dimensional it's not.
And then if you look at their offense, they're worse than batting average. They lead the league they lead baseball in strikeouts. They don't have a good OPS. They don't score runs, but they have a dynamic and they're probably the best pitching staff in baseball, and they're on the outside looking in the postseason.
Kumar Rocker made his debut against them last night.
4 innings, 7 strikeouts?
So I went to the box score because I'm watching it, the highlights on MLB. Then I went 4 innings. 4 innings. You let this kid only go 4 innings.
Debut. They gotta build him up.
Let's just say this now, and I wish I had my full voice so I could really go after it. Do not try and sell me the Texas Rangers next year.
Oh, they will.
you're gonna if people try and sell me that, well, Rocker will be limited, DeGrom will be limited. How many innings are you gonna get out of him next year?
Oh boy, I'll go under 120.
Scherzer. Everybody they got pitching will be
Jack Leiter.
They're not going to have anybody who they're going to be able to say, all right, you got to go get me a bunch of innings.
Wow, you're no faith in Nathan Eovaldi?
Dane Dunning, no.
Andrew Heaney,
no. But you're going to sell me in the offseason. You're going to sell him. You're going to sell me DeGrom in the offseason. I'm going to look at you going, how much is he going to pitch?
I'm still saying under 120.
It's like that's the problem with our game is like everybody likes to sell names in the offseason and then but combat that with going, okay, well, what is he going to give you? It's great he's going to be back. Is he going to make 30 starts? Is he going to give you 200 innings? No and no. Then you know what? Not. And then you're going to sell me on, well, we're going to figure out how to pitch him, not pitch him, how to pitch, and he hope he's in the postseason.
How'd that work out for the Mets?
Didn't.
Yeah.
Eric Byrnes, Alumni Sunday. A lot of you didn't get to see it. That's on us. We want to play it for you today. How do you not love Eric Byrnes? One of the more excitable A's of all time. Great guy. Here's our conversation with him, Alumni Sunday. Well, now joining us here on A's Cast Live. He's a fan favorite. You love him, A's fans. Eric Byrnes here for Alumni Sunday. How are you?
Chris, I'm great, man. Like I said, I listened to you the other night and just started to get back into the zone and get ready to come here and kind of, one last dance at the Coliseum and say farewell to his place. And it's a little nostalgic, I think, coming back here this morning and making the drive from Half Moon Bay like I did so many times. And I honestly, dude, so right when I'm coming up on the 880 and I used to have this convertible where I'd roll the whole way with the top down. So I'd leave Half Moon Bay, it's 50 degrees. I'd go over the bridge, it's freaking, 75 or whatever. And then you get on the other side and I always have my beanie on and wear it low in the shades. And then right when I saw the Coliseum, I would always go back to this one song. And it was actually Kenny Chesney, Anything But Mine. Don't ask me why, but that was a song that locked me in for the day all right, it's time to go to work. It's time to focus and everything else. And so today I had my kid in the back, with his buddy. And I'm like, dudes, listen to this. Yeah. And so I made them shut their phones off and we sat there and listened to that song. And it was pretty cool.
You're going to get it today because we see the fans, they just run to get in line to do these autographs. And you're going to see the appreciation that they have for the way you played, for the way you went about it. We were talking about this with Adam Rosales. I mean, he was the same way. You brought it every single day. You wish everybody would. It's hard to do, but there was never a day that you didn't bring your A game, and fans love that. And I think it's why fans still love you today.
Well, Chris, I think that now with coaching, and I coach a national travel team and had an opportunity to coach the Savannah Bananas, and
yeah,
I could see how and why people appreciate that. And I think when I played, it was just what I did, and I didn't know any other way. But I think now, as I, have fully immersed myself into the coaching side of things, you understand that there's only two things we can control in life and in this game. It's our attitude and our effort. And so long as we maintain the right attitude and we give the right effort each and every single day, I'll be able to come back here however many years later and, look you in the eye and everyone else that, was around here and say, hey, look, I wasn't the best player, but at the same time, I gave you everything I had. And it didn't always work out. And sure, there's some, I think if we look back upon those eras, I think there were a couple of years we had the best team in baseball. And, we certainly could have won a World Series or even multiple. But, just the way things worked out, it just didn't. But again, you come back and you look back upon it. And the message I send to our boys all the time is just know, so long as you know that you left everything on that field, that's success. And when I look back upon my time here with Oakland, I know I left everything out there.
I mean, you leave the Bay Area to go to UCLA, and then you come back to the Bay Area and you become a big leaguer. What was that like to be a Bay Area kid? Family gets to see every game, friends, teachers, everybody that helped mold you got to see it and be a part of it.
It was cool. I think maybe at the beginning it was a bit overwhelming. I remember leaving 95 tickets for the game against the Giants, and this is before they had the ticket monitoring system, basically. So it was a lot, but at the same time, I think I did a good job compartmentalizing what goes on here at the field as well as away from it. And I have had a lot of great people and still have a lot of great people in my life that I think helped with that process and just really supportive. And, there's nothing like, there's a picture that I have that I just pulled up the other day. It's my dad, my sister, who's decked out in Giants gear. And I'm like 6, 7 years old. I got an A's starter jacket on, an A's hat, and then to get an opportunity to play with them. They just think about that. It's very rare. But I think it's one of those things that I'm super grateful for. And I'd like to also believe that hopefully that can serve as inspiration to the next generation of ball players. And, one of the main things that a message that I continue to try to send out is don't let anybody tell you no. Believe in yourself and have your dreams, and then we can create the process to get there. But don't ever let anybody tell you no. If you believe in it enough, and it can happen. I came from a small town in, the Bay Area that there wasn't big leaguers come out of where I was coming from. And, this process of one foot in front of the other, and then all of a sudden it starts to materialize, and then you can see how this can happen. And it was, whether it was from Ormondale to Corte Madera to St. Francis to UCLA to Medford. That was just getting to Medford, right? Then you're still, the odds of you still getting to Oakland are that it was Medford to Visalia to Modesto to Midland to Sacramento. Let's not forget it's up in Los Mochis, and then Santo Domingo in the Dominican playing for Licey. It's just this whole process. But if you look at this, it's overwhelming. It's whoa. Nah, one foot in front of the other. And then that's what, obviously allowed me to get here and then make a career out of this baseball thing.
Well, and the career's still going. And I think about it's all about belief. The legendary story of you going to Billy Bean going, hey, man, I should be playing every day. You should be pitching for me or splits or what. I want to play every day. So, that took a lot to go up and do that back then. And it just kind of shows where you are now in business with the No Filter Network and the great success you're having there, which you've gone to the media side, the social side. That's been a great part. Just talk about how it's kept you in the game that you love.
Yeah, I think when you do anything in life with pure love behind it and something that you really enjoy doing, then you're going to be great at it. So, but you got to love it. So when it came to playing baseball or, now from the media side of things, I love it. Kind of like you, right? You love talking about the game of baseball, and sure, there's certain days or nights that we love talking about it more, but to be able to, get in the broadcasting and, work for MLB Network for damn near 10 years, and then to create No Filter Network, and, basically we're an interactive live streaming platform, open platform content creation, with the idea that, what Will Clark and I had a vision of sitting down on a couch like this and watching a game and live reacting and being able to have open conversations without fear of condemnation or judgment. And if we happen to offend somebody along the way, we're not trying to, but we wanted to create this. And every Tuesday when I go on with him, it's, he was my boyhood idol.
He's Will Clark. He's Will the Thrill.
Yeah. It's an amazing experience. And then, running the Daily Hustle podcast, which I come on there in the morning for, anywhere between 10 minutes or an hour. It just depends what, how much I have to talk about. And how into it, but to be able to talk about the hot topics and the games and everything else, like and talk freely. I think that's the most important thing, at this stage of my life is to make sure I stay true to who I am as a person, and ideally continue to, I think, inspire the next generation to not only follow their dreams, but do what they want. But, ideally, when you have something to say, like, I think when I first got into media, there were certain times it's like, okay, well, I'll say this for like shock value type of thing. And there's still those moments, but I also think, we collectively as media members, we have an awesome opportunity to educate. And I think that's where, especially with No Filter Network, to be able to talk about hitting mechanics, to be able to talk about a mental approach to the game of baseball, to have Will on, and break down an at-bat and certain pitches he's looking for. And like all of this, in my opinion, it's educational. So, I do believe, and I know that, for those who engage, there's a ton of value there. That's pretty cool.
Or you buy umpires beers and take care of you the rest of your career. Hey, let's end on this. I've always viewed you as such a great inspiration. And when you talk about you only live once, get the most out of your life as you possibly can, just not as a player, what you're doing now, the triathlons, all the different kind of races you've been in. No one's ever going to say you've been cheated in life.
No. And again, this goes back to just, find something that you're passionate about, find something you love. What's your ikigai? What's your reason for getting up in the morning, pull your head off the pillow and continue, to want to work. And, I found that with endurance sports after baseball. So I think from a mental standpoint, it was the broadcasting, right? But it's like physically, what was I going to do? I mean, I spent all my life training to play Major League Baseball. And then all of a sudden that was over. And so then I got into the endurance sports, and I mean, spent 10 plus years, started with like a sprint triathlon to, running a 5K to eventually, 12 Ironmans and a triathlon across the country, the Western States 100, a 24-hour speed golf world record, just kind of crazy stuff that I started chasing. And I loved it. Absolutely loved it. And just recently, about a year now, I've fallen in love with pickleball. So
you're like the last guy I would think would be doing pickleball.
Yeah,
Ironman's to pickleball.
So I grew up playing tennis, and for whatever reason, I got a good group of guys and women in the Tahoe community that are all badass pickleball players. And about a year ago when I started, I would just get absolutely throttled. And so I had to learn the game. And it's actually, there's a lot more thinking. It's kind of chess, out there. And it just, I think from a physical standpoint, it's surplus. I mean, I still run, every day, but that's kind of the next thing. And so I bring that up just because what's your next thing, so to speak, right? Like that's where I think we all need that next thing. And as goofy as it sounds, right now with the, pickleball, that's my next thing.
I know you get a lot of love on social, but today you're going to get a lot of love from people right in front of you. Go enjoy that. You deserve it. It's going to be a lot of fun for you.
Oh, I hope so. Thanks, Chris.
The great Eric Byrnes right here on A's Cast Live.
Calling all trading card collectors. Mark your calendars for Saturday, September 14th, because Topps Hobby Rip Night is back and bigger than ever. Head to your local hobby shop to open packs, trade cards, and connect with fellow collectors. With over 500 shops participating and some surprise appearances from athletes and celebrities, this is a night that you don't want to miss. Join the fun. Find your nearest shop at Topps.com/Rip Night. That's Topps.com/Rip Night. And be a part of the excitement on September 14th.
This is Commander Cody, and fall is upon us, and Linksole has dropped their new fall line. New pants fit for a more custom experience with elevated layers and performance polos to help transition from season to season, no matter if you're wearing them out on the golf course, out to dinner, or just hanging out with friends. Some effortless looks to help you find the right look and feel for any occasion. Go to their website, linksole.com. That's linksole.com, and find out how you can unlock 20% off your next order. Remember, in the big leagues, to play good, you got to look good.
Where does one community end and the next begin? Across the railroad tracks? On the other side of the river? Is it between the east side and the west side? At Comerica Bank, we believe it's all one community, and we're all part of it. That's why Comerica has invested over $20 million for affordable housing, financial education, and workforce development in lower-income communities. Because when we raise expectations for everyone, we all rise. Member FDIC, Equal Opportunity Lender.
Hi, fans. This season, Kingsford Capital Management is the official hedge fund sponsor of the Oakland A's. At Kingsford, down to business is their way of seeing the world. Investing has its pitfalls, treacherous chasms of half-truth and despair. Kingsford's mission is to create opportunity through application of proven innovation and entrepreneurial focus with trust, tenacity, loyalty, and growth, establishing a strong reputation as a proven intendant and validated bedrock of American finance. Kingsford Capital, down to business.
If you haven't been to the Chicken Pie Shop in Walnut Creek, what are you waiting for? You're going to love the new menu, and it's a great place to watch all the pennant race action and the upcoming NFL and college football seasons. Come taste their world-famous chicken pie that has been served in Southern California for 86 years. Spacious indoor and outdoor dining, perfect for your next corporate party or birthday celebration. Don't forget free parking. For more information, go to chickenpieshopwc.com. That's chickenpieshopwc.com.
Hey, Oakland A's fans, step up to the plate with Xfinity Internet. Get the fastest speeds and low-lag streaming for an incredible viewing experience that knocks it out of the park. And you'll have a consistent connection with reduced buffering and freezing, so you can stay in all the action inning after inning. When it's game time, make sure to catch it all with internet that's powerful and reliable. Stream sports from the best seat in the house with Xfinity, because it's only live once. Actual speeds vary and not guaranteed. Many factors affect speed. For factors affecting speed, visit xfinity.com/network management.
This is the place where you can dance like nobody's watching, win like nobody's business, and get away like you mean it. So what are you waiting for? Come join the party. Take that evening out and make it a night you'll never forget. This kind of action can't be beat.
With more sunshine returning, it's time to get outside and make the most of what Cinnabar Hills Golf Club has to offer. Like 27 championship caliber holes tucked in the beautiful hills of San Jose. And take advantage of their amazing Bay Area views for your next special event. It's all for you at Cinnabar Hills Golf Club, an award-winning venue designed to peacefully take you away from the bustle of Silicon Valley. Go to cinnabarhills.com. That's cinnabarhills.com.
Being a Chevron car these days has been quite the adventure. Miami to Seattle, ocean to ocean. I've stopped at so many states and collected so many bumper stickers. Sometimes I feel like a moving passport book. It's just so great what I can do with Chevron with Techron, because it gives me unbeatable mileage and keeps my engine clean. Plus, there are so many Chevrons along the way. Now the only thing I'm worried about is where to go next and where to put all my new bumper stickers. Chevron with Techron, fueled by possibility.
If you're looking for a new mattress, Nest Bedding has you covered. Sleep on the same mattress Hall of Famer Ricky Henderson sleeps on. Nest Bedding is the #1 brand of online mattresses and the Bay Area's favorite mattress store. Take home the Easy Breather pillow. The New York Times calls it their #1 pick. You can navigate their easy-to-use website, nestbedding.com. That's nestbedding.com. Green and Gold fans, use the coupon code Oakland and you get 10% off your entire order. Nest Bedding, love where you sleep.
And the underdogs Oakland Athletics win their first championship since they were in Philadelphia in 1930.
Hi, I'm Raleigh Fingers, Hall of Famer, 3-time World Series champion with the Oakland A's and World Series MVP. Winning takes teamwork, skill, and heart. So when you need an ace for a personal injury lawyer that will win you the game, go with the winning team. Call Venardi Zerata at 833-VZ-FOR-ME or go to vzlawfirm.com. Venardi Serrata, the official injury law firm of the Oakland A's.
Like sports, business is about winning. Championship decisions are business decisions based on what it takes to help your company win. And that's why there's UBO Business Services, specializing in helping you win every day by streamlining workflows, managing documents, and providing the best-in-class office technology. Make your championship decision with UBO Business Services. Visit them at ubeo.com. That's ubeo.com.
Unlock offers and receive exclusive in-game features by downloading the MLB Ballpark app for iPhone and Android today. Plus, get the latest information on game times, schedules, and more.
A's Cast Live continues from NBC Sports. Here's Chris Townsend.
Okay, I want to give people kind of an idea. So, before every game in my book, as you'll see, I've got...
We call it the Bible, right?
Got the lineup here, where everybody's playing on the field here. And up here, the notes tells you how many games. Can they see that?
Yeah, they should be able to. It's not too bright.
I'll come around. We got some time before Dave Stewart's going to join us. So you got to get in here. So you'll see where the standings are. It tells you the games, the record, games backed. And then I always know what the team does at home, road, against the East, Central, West, interleague play, all that. I can tell you I have never written down. I've been doing this a long time. So this is the A's on this side. I always have them on this side. So this is the White Sox side. I have never written down ever in the standings a team being 51 games out.
It's pretty crazy.
I've never written that before. I just did that, and I'm like, they're 51 games out. There's 162 games.
I told you a little bit ago they've lost 16 games in a row at home. They're on pace to tie the record set by the 96 Tigers, lost 17 in a row. I mean, it's just incredible. I saw an article, Sam Blum, who covers the Angels in baseball for The Athletic, put an article out earlier. He talked to Hawk Harrelson. Hawk says he can't even watch the games anymore. He goes, he watched the pregame that he puts on tennis or whatever else is on because he can't watch the games.
Remember when everybody was freaking out about us last year?
Yeah. The White Sox aren't even going to sniff 51s. They have 114 losses right now, so the tragic number is 7.
Big number to watch today on the South Side.
That's one.
One more double for JJ Bleday.
Oh, what's the guy's name again?
Mule Haas. Mule Haas. One more double, JJ Bleday will tie Mule Haas, most doubles ever for an A's center fielder. What was it, 1929?
Oh, sure. I'll take your word for it.
I think it was 1929.
It was a Philadelphia.
It was in the 20s. Let me see here. So let me see. JJ Bleday. So he also joins Hall of Famer Al Simmons and Mule Haas as the only A's center fielders in athletics history with 40 doubles. But the record is Mule Haas at 41. So JJ Bleday is looking for a record. Most doubles ever by an A's center fielder.
I told you, I looked it up the other day, and
big number.
He needs 2 more doubles, or he needs to get to 42, and he'll have the most by an Oakland A's outfielder all time. So that encompasses Piscotty.
He'll beat
and Ben Grieve. Ben Grieve was on the list.
God, those are like the 2 guys you'd never even think.
No, obviously Jed and Giambi were position players, so you don't have to worry about passing them. Because I don't think he's going to get the 49 that Jed had. And was that 2018? When he hit 49? Is it 18? The year he had all the All-Star year?
It was 18 or 19.
So he's 34 years old when he did it, right?
Yeah, it just had him on. It was 18 or 19.
Jed had 49 doubles in 17. He followed up by only having 37 the following year.
And another thing about Jed, thinking about that, 2017 is when that team started to come together, right?
Yeah.
Those young guys were coming up, they're playing, and you had a guy like Jed Lowrie there having a career year. That's why I think it's important to get Jed back into the organization. Jed is just a really super bright guy. One of the last guys that you can talk to about switch hitting, understands switch hitting.
Well, because he has.
We forgot to ask Jed. What does he play golf, right or left?
That's a good question. We should have asked him, what's your favorite nickname you've ever been given? Is it the Cage Whisperer?
I threw that out there later, that broadcast, and Vince whiffed. Vince totally whiffed on that. The Cage Whisperer. See, you got to keep your greats in your organization. You have to. That's why you got to keep Dave Stewart around, because he's one of the greats, right?
Yeah. Are you ready?
Do we got Stu?
I'm here.
Stu, how are you?
I'm good, bro. How you guys doing?
We're doing well. We're starting to count things down, and as this season is starting to wind down, I know you've been watching it every day. But before we talk about Coliseum memories for you, and before we talk about your career at the Coliseum as someone who's been watching this team and watching it grow, what have your thoughts been from last year to this year, this A's team?
Well, this A's team is crazy because I thought last year's A's team was very, very talented. And, God, they had a horrendous season last year. This team, I really admire probably more than the team that was put together last year because of it's been patchwork for Mark Kotsay. So, first of all, you take your hat off to him for the great job that he's done in putting the players on the field and filling the gaps and making the right moves. Then you look at their front office staff, and it goes even deeper than that. You look at the drafts because a lot of the players that are here are players that were drafted. Some of the players were via trade, but the bottom line is still front office does their vetting with these players, and they've been able to put some pretty good players on the field that have done a great job. Overall, you look at the pitching staff that started off the year in one way. We had a couple of veteran guys that were leading the rotation that eventually got injured and couldn't finish the pass. Stripling is back in on the staff, but not in the rotation. But the staff, the starting rotation has been pieced together, and they've done a great job. The bullpen, on the other hand, the first part of the season, did a great job of carrying this club because the starters were going 5 innings, maybe 5 innings plus, and the bullpen was coming through. Second part of the season, and some of that could be because of overuse. They have had some changes in the bullpen. Ursig now is closing for the Kansas City Royals, but they've had some changes. But overall, pitching staff, both bullpen and starters, have done a great job. Always have to make a special shout to J.P. Sears, who now is going into his third straight season without missing a start, being healthy, being accountable, and leading that rotation. Rooker has, in my opinion, made tremendous improvements from last year's season to this year's season, cut down on strikeouts, more RBIs, more home runs, batting average is higher. And when we look at the lawman, he was sent to the minor leagues to make adjustments. He's come back and he's got a chance to finish the season hitting close to 280 and obviously doing the things that he's doing, 20-plus home runs and hitting in that leadoff spot has been a blessing for this team. So, there are so many great things to say about this year's team versus last year's team. There's just not one word to really explain how good these kids are today and what you can expect in growth for next year's season.
Put your GM hat on and let's talk about David Force, because, we were thinking about it. Like, ever since, he was kind of passed the torch from Billy Beane, he's had to get the organization through COVID, which was that year was unbelievable. You had the lockout. You then had ownership telling you to dump your best players. You got not a whole lot to work with financially to buy new players. You now got to prepare the organization to go to Sacramento. You're having to build whatever, you're going to have turf and you're going to have new locker rooms. And, you got to just where he has the organization, all those positives you talked about now, because there wasn't a blueprint on how to get through COVID and how to get through all of that and how to move a franchise from one city to another. Just talk about the job that David Forst has done.
He's done a tremendous job. And there's no other way to explain it. He's done a tremendous job. He faces the same, I guess, shortcomings that Billy Beane faced as a general manager. He's working with low budget, moving, in my opinion, key pieces of your rotation and key pieces of your position players, your everyday players, and he's still finding a way to be competitive. Now, this go around for him has been a little bit longer than it was for Billy, because if we look back to the 2017 season, I believe, or it may have been the 18 season, Billy flat out said that this is going to be rebuilding and end up winning 97 or 98 games. So it's taken, this group that David Forst has put together a little bit longer. But if you really look at this team, they are going to be very good pretty short term. And a lot's going to have to do with maturity of pitching, how much money's going to come off the payroll next year, if he can go out and pick up, some key pieces to the starting rotation. Or are they still going to just kind of, piece this thing together, let some more of their young starters mature, and then when they feel that they have a serious chance to run at it, go out and put a couple of guys in the front end of the rotation to go with what they already have. But when you look at the talent of this team and what's been put together, they're not very far away.
And there's always the question of looking at certain players, where they are, arbitration, when are they eligible for free agency, when are they even eligible for arbitration, of when you want to, buy up some years and ink up some guys. Talk about that process, because we'll look at like Rooker and you'll look at Blade coming up, and at some point Lawrence Butler, you'll deal with that. Talk about that process from a front office and the thought of, okay, maybe you want to commit a few years and some dollars to some guys.
Well, we're going to find out what ownership is thinking pretty short term. Rooker's going to be coming up. If not a Super 2, he's got to be real close to one in the upcoming season. If the lawman goes out and he plays well again next year, this is a guy that you have to consider locking up for an extended period of time. You have to seriously think about that. Mason Miller, one of the most important pieces in a pitching staff, is a guy that can close games out for you and assure that you're going to win a game. So you'd have to think about him. JP Sears, though, he's not overpowering. He's competitive. He's good out there. He thinks on his feet, knows how to maneuver himself through a lineup, now pitching deeper into baseball games. And having a guy that makes starts every fifth day, those guys don't come easy. With his experience over the last 3 years, going into a fourth year, pitching at the top of the rotation against everybody's number ones, this guy's not afraid. And so, though he doesn't have, power stuff, he does have power competitiveness. And he'll pitch against anybody's number one, and he'll go pitch for pitch with those guys and give you an opportunity to win. So it's another guy you have to think about. So organizationally, they're going to have to look at who are the players that are must for this organization to continue forward, guys that are going to be here and going to be not just here, but be good players long-term for this organization. You have to look at those guys. And so, like I said, the story of the Oakland A's management, it's going to become crystal clear pretty soon, because you do have some guys that you should be thinking about keeping here long term, and they're going to have to make that decision, I think, pretty short term.
You think about being one of the face of the franchise. A face of the franchise is a big deal, and you've been that for a long, long time. Obviously, as now an A's Hall of Famer, your number is retired. It will be remembered forever in this organization's history. You grew up in the city. We've talked to you before about going to games as a kid and sneaking in at the Coliseum, and what a big fan you were of the 70s teams and their great players. Just as this thing starts to wind down, I know this has to be very emotional for you in so many different ways.
I really gave it a hard thought. When all of this stuff was going on, and a lot of it, I had some idea of, because of everything that I'm doing here in Nashville, and having an opportunity to talk in the commissioner's office to the commissioner and different people in his office. So I kind of had an idea that a lot of this was taking place with the A's. But the reality of not having a team, a major league franchise in Oakland, a city that has put out Veda Pinson, Frank Robinson, Joe Morgan, Ricky Henderson, Willie Stargell. I mean, and the names can go on and on. Those are the great ones, guys that were. I just named off 3 Hall of Famers, and so when you think about a city that's put that type of talent into Major League Baseball to not have a Major League franchise, couldn't imagine it. And it's tough to imagine going forward that baseball at the Major League level won't be played in Oakland. And then I think about, I was at the Coliseum last Sunday to give out the Community Service Award, and walking in the ballpark and talking to people that, the security staff, people that I've worked with for many, many years, people that have been a part of that Coliseum, and a great deal of their adult life has been at the Coliseum. They don't have a place to go now, when they've been involved in baseball for as long as they have. And then, like I said, you start thinking about the rest of it, the grounds crew. Clay is now not going to be back. He's got to look for work someplace else, and he has been one of the best grounds crews keeper in baseball for a long, long period of time. And so there's just a lot that doesn't seem right. But more importantly, I remember when we were in our great days, and we were packing the house. We had 55,000 fans that were coming out to the game before Mount Davis. When the Oakland Coliseum was a beautiful stadium, and you could see the skyline of Oakland and the Oakland Hills, and we were packing the house. And as a kid, I have to reflect back on '68 when they came. That gave me the opportunity to meet Reggie Jackson and Ramon Webster and be a fan of Catfish Hunter, and then in '72, '73, and '74 when they won championships, it wasn't just about the Raiders then. Baseball also gave Oakland an identity. It was the swinging A's, and Reggie Jackson and company. Maybe they didn't get along in the clubhouse, but when they got on the field, they played baseball and they beat some very, very good teams in those World Series. So there's just so much history that of the city, and there's so much history of the organization that it really becomes difficult the closer we get to the end of the season to really understand and have it sink in. The baseball from this organization will move to Sacramento, a minor league stadium, for 3 years. It's just unbelievable that the organization has gone from championships to minor league stadium to Las Vegas.
Well, and people need to know that you've done everything that you possibly could. I mean, you tried to purchase the land there at the Coliseum site. I saw your plans. I mean, you've tried to do your part. I mean, now you're in Nashville, but no one can say that Dave Stewart didn't try.
We had every plan to try to do something, working with the A's to make sure that they stayed there. Obviously, if we were able to get that piece done at the Coliseum, it would have served as financing to help them at Howard Terminal. But that didn't happen. I've had conversations with Mr. Fisher on a few occasions to talk to him about minority or even taking a majority position with the A's to purchase the ball club. So I've looked at it from all angles with sincere intent to try to keep the A's in Oakland, playing in Oakland, whether it was at the Coliseum or if it would have ended up at Howard Terminal.
I just want everybody to know that. And what you've tried to do and what you're trying to do in Nashville is no doubt going to be fantastic. And what we saw at the baseball winter meetings last year, Nashville as a town, wow, growing so fast. I mean, just we've talked a lot about your career, but just want to bring back to you coming back to Oakland and just not figuring it out, that you became one of the premier big game pitchers in the history of the game. Talk about coming back to Oakland and then how your career at that point just takes off and what you become from what you end up becoming historically at that point.
It's crazy because, Sandy Alderson told me a story that kind of made a lot of things clear for me. I was released from the Philadelphia Phillies in 1986, early April of 86. I worked out for the Oakland A's in April. Couldn't get the Baltimore Orioles to look at me, and I was in their ballpark. Initially, Jackie Moore and Wes Stock said that I wasn't impressive for them. Sandy Alderson knew that I had the interest of the Detroit Tigers. Bill LaJoy was the general manager then, and he overrode Jackie Moore and Wes Stock and said, if Bill LaJoy likes this kid, then he's good enough to pitch for us. And that opened the door for me to come back home and pitch in Oakland. But, even having the uniform on and sitting on the bench and being a part of that baseball team, Jackie Moore and Wes Stock still weren't giving me very many opportunities. But I never knew why. And what it came down to is they didn't want me from the start, and so they weren't going to give me very many opportunities to pitch. And, I remember talking to Dusty Baker and saying, hey, Bake, look, this is not going very well for me. Sometimes things go full circle, and now I'm back at home, and maybe this should be the time that I hang it up. And Dusty said, Stu, don't ever give the uniform back. Make them take it. And I ended up staying around. He said, you'll never know what's going to happen. Ended up staying around, and eventually, Wes Stock and Jackie Moore were gone, and Tony La Russa comes in with Dave Duncan, and that changes my life. I was with Dave Duncan and Tony La Russa last Saturday in St. Louis when Dave Duncan was inducted into the St. Louis Cardinals Hall of Fame. And the list of pitchers that he had an effect on is just unbelievable in so many ways. And I felt proud that I had the opportunity to work with him and be a part of everything that he could contribute. And I took everything that he gave me and I put it back on the field. And, the mental approach to the game, which is Dunk's biggest piece, were the final pieces that I needed. I needed to learn how to use the stuff that I had. Doug Rader, when I pitched for the Texas Rangers, told me if I ever threw the forkball again while he was the manager, he would break my back. And so, I never threw the forkball when I was there, but Tony comes and Dunk comes. I start their first game against Boston and Roger Clemens, and I win that game, and Dunk sees the forkball and sees the breaking ball, and we start talking about how we use those pitches, and we talk situations and counts and keeping runners close, at first base, and, just thinking ahead in a game and having a game plan and how to process it and put it together. And, the story tells itself after that, the 20 consecutive win seasons, eventually making an all-star game, playoff records and MVPs and all the things that happened. But, if not for Dave Duncan and Tony La Russa, and Sandy Alderson, more importantly, Sandy Alderson, I don't have the opportunity to come back home and have the kind of success that I had. And those kind of things, you can only say thank you, but thank you is not a big enough word for the relationships that I built with Sandy, Dunk, Tony, Mr. Haas, when he was the owner of this team, and still carry that relationship with Wally and Wally's family. So it was the right time, the right place. People always say God has a plan, and my plan fit right in 1986 in April, early May, and never had the opportunity to look back.
Yeah, right place, right time. Just absolutely amazing. And then now I think just where you are in your life now, as obviously you were, as you said, giving out your award. We saw you at the Hall of Fame inductions, as you mean so much to this organization. And now you're trying to start your own organization there in Nashville. Just where you are now, and you think about your life, I mean, as an agent, as a player, as a pitching coach, as a GM, as an assistant GM, just what is it like now when Dave Stewart thinks about the game of baseball, and you've now seen it literally at every level? You've seen everything that this game has to offer. What is it like?
It's crazy to say this, and I don't mean this in an egotistical way at all, Towny. When I watch the game of baseball now, I feel like there's so much that I know, that I've seen, that I have to give to the game. It's not the best game in the world, in my opinion, today, but I love it. I love the game dearly, and when I watch the game, I'm shouting at pitchers on TV, or I'm shouting at managers and moves that they make, and it's in my blood. It's never going to go anywhere. I still work with kids, both youth as well as some of the major league athletes and minor league athletes that are out there. I get a chance to go to spring training with the A's, both minor leagues and major leagues, for 2 weeks major league, 2 weeks minor leagues. If I see something that I think that Kots should know that I'm seeing, I call him and I tell him this is what I'm seeing. I'm working with NBC pre and post game, and to really just sit and talk, over the game, the mistakes or the successes, and why these things happen, and my gut feeling before it happened, and this is what took place, to explain to the fans that are watching a game, this is how the game should be played. This is what happened. This is a rookie mistake. Oh, the guy's swing is too long. All the things that you automatically see from being in the game for 51 years, if there's such a thing as a PhD, then I have it.
No doubt about it, man. And what you're getting now is you're going to be an owner is just incredible. We're at NBC now. I'll be doing the show the next 2 days with Bip Roberts, but then you're going to come back. You're going to do the final homestand, right? Yankees and Rangers.
I got the homestand till the end of the year. Yeah.
It's going to be emotional for all of us.
It is. I was an 11-year-old kid when I was hopping the fence coming in the Coliseum waiting for the gates to open, and so I've had a lot of walks, in that back portion of the tunnel before I was a player, and then a lot of walks as a player. And, without a doubt, though I've got 3 championships, without a doubt, the greatest days of my career, the majority of my career, was spent at the Oakland Coliseum. So as a player, the greatest days and the majority of my days were at the Coliseum. As a kid, growing up, learning to play the game, the greatest days, most days of my life were spent at the Coliseum. So, if we look at it and we go all the way back from 11 years old till 67 years old, that's how long I've been going to the Coliseum.
Well, we'll check back with you in the off season. Obviously, everything going on with Nashville, and then we'll have the winter meetings. And then before you know it, we'll have fantasy camp rolling around again in Mesa. But we just want to check in one last time, because when you talk about a face of the franchise, you've been one of the faces of this franchise for a long, long time. And with your number retired and being in the Hall of Fame, you'll be a part of this franchise forever. So one last time, we want to hear from you as the Oakland A's. You know how much you mean to this show, how much we love you, Dave. Thank you for everything you do, and have a good broadcast the rest of the way.
Well, for sure, Tony. It's been my honor, and there's no other word than an honor to wear that green and gold, and to be a part of the group of guys that I played with in that uniform. But more importantly, the impression was set, long before I put that uniform on. We knew what we were up against and how we needed to play. And I believe that if you talk to the guys in the late 90s and 2000s, I think that they would all say the same thing, that it's been an honor to wear the green and gold and to be a player in the Oakland A's organization. And then, Tony, from another standpoint, I mean, I don't have any idea what's going to happen with me and NBC going forward, but it's also been a pleasure being on your shows and working with you in the studio.
You're the best, my friend. Be well. We'll
Thank
see
you,
you.
man.
Thank you, Dave. The
You
great
guys
Dave
take care.
Stewart, A's Hall of Famer. I mean, his life in baseball is just incredible. You know who taught him the forkball?
Sandy Koufax.
I mean, seriously, you can't make that up.
I mean, I didn't know that the manager threatened to break his back.
You can't. I mean, Sandy Koufax was your pitching guy. I mean, that's the whole thing about, you could do a whole interview with Dave Stewart about growing up in the Dodger system and all those old Dodger names. Sandy Koufax taught him the forkball. And then resurrecting his career in Oakland, winning a championship. One of the coolest things, I texted Dave earlier this year. He was doing it with Brody, and I paused it, and I went and looked up. I went, sitting to his left? The World Series MVP trophy. And I texted him, I went, that's pretty badass. I mean, he has the 3 World Series 3 World Series trophy. I mean, that's one thing. But when you got your World Series MVP trophy next to you, the great Dave Stewart. Yeah. So cool. So cool.
We're going to try to effort to get a few more guys before the season's over. I know we're working on trying to get Ricky. I think we're going to try to get Ricky during the homestand against the Yankees because of the bobblehead and everything. And we're trying to get Giambi and who's the other player we tried? Oh, Nick Swisher. So we're working on those. Are some of the guys we're working on. So stay tuned on that. But we'll make sure we have the best of the best coming for you for the next couple weeks before the season wraps up.
Alumni Sunday.
Yeah.
Wow.
Carney Lansford, Terry Steinbach, Miguel Tejada, all A's Hall of Famers. That's the last one on September 22nd.
How good is that?
It's a really good lineup.
Now, what's going to be funny is to talk to Terry Steinbach. We knew he was an A's Hall of Famer when he didn't.
Oh, fantasy camp?
And we couldn't say anything. And it was so hard to interview him and not talk about it because I know how much it means to him. And, you got to remember, we work for the A's. We're on the inside, right? We knew Canseco. We knew this stuff.
Tejada.
We couldn't say anything to anybody. And so when we're at fantasy camp and I'm like, God, I got Terry Steinbach, and I can't even say, because, he and Carney are best friends.
Yeah.
So I couldn't even say anything to Carney, who's already an A's Hall of Famer, but I was like, hey, your boy's getting in. That was tough. I can't wait to talk to Terry about that. Going, Terry, remember that interview we did up in the Crow's Nest at Fitch Park? Yeah, we totally knew you were already a Hall of Famer. We just couldn't say anything. And I tell you, it's one of the biggest honors of my career was to MC that day, and knowing what that meant to Terry Steinbach and his family. I mean, it's a big deal. I mean, you go into a team's Hall of Fame, you're there forever. Because we don't live forever. But these organizations do. So years from now, your grandkids, your great-grandkids, they'll go to this, wherever the stadium is, because unless you're the Red Sox and the
Cubs,
you don't stay in the same stadium. And, pretty cool stuff. You stay up in that, in those rafters, however they present their Hall of Famers forever. It's a big deal. All right. What do we got next?
We'll play Jed Lowrie, and then we'll finish with Mark Kotsay. We caught up with Jed. Get some more memories from Jed.
And then I got some NBC to do, and we'll be back when? On Monday?
Monday, 2 o'clock. Cubs.
That's Cubs?
Yeah. Our buddy Lance Brosdowski is going to be on the show.
Oh, you want some data. He puts stuff out like he puts like, I mean, here's my number one question. How many people understand what you're talking about?
I'm going to go. There's going to be people that know, nerds like us, but there's going to be people like, what?
No, but I mean, he gets into stuff when you start talking. I mean, essentially the baseball moves through the air, right? And you're going through all the different things, vertical, horizontal, how it's spinning, late spin. There's so many different ways to track. Now that we have radar, StatCast, and we can track everything that the ball does, before we just tracked it with our eyes and said, that looks like a good breaking ball. Now we can tell you why. But how many people understand that? And this offseason, we're going to do a deep dives with that with our own pitching coach, Scott Emerson, and start explaining that, what they look at, the numbers, and how they look at the numbers. The only number that matters to me.
Wins.
Do you get the guy out?
Oh.
You could lob it up there. Does he get out? Because part of our problem is some guys worry so much about their numbers, they forget that their ERA is 4.50. Hey, that's a great.
But they have a good spin rate.
Yeah, you got a good spin rate, but you don't get anybody out. I don't care what you're spinning. I don't know what Maddox's spin rate was. Do you?
No. Well, I don't think they were tracking that back then either.
But guess what? He got people out. That's all that mattered. So we'll be back on Monday. What time?
2:00. All
right. Who do we got now?
Jed Lowrie.
The great Jed Lowrie. Love me some Jed Lowrie right here on A's Cast Live. Well, now joining us on A's Cast Live, I've said it many times. He's one of my all-time favorites. His career with the A's is so unique and so good. 3 different times he was an Athletic. The Bay Area played such a big part in his career as a standout at Stanford, and of course here with the A's. Jed Lowrie with us. As Jed, we've been like, we got to reach out to our all-time favorites before we end this thing in Oakland, and you were definitely on the list. How are you?
I'm great, Towny. Thanks for having me.
I think about what the Bay Area and just not the A's, just Stanford, just everything that happened to you in the Bay. I mean, finding your wife, starring at Stanford, being an all-star in Major League Baseball, your best years with the A's. It's just a place that has to hold something so special in your heart.
Oh, certainly. I mean, I don't even know if I need to add anything else. You kind of you said it all. Because it's obviously very formative for who I am today.
So tell us what you're doing now with the commissioner's office as an ambassador. It's always great to see smart minds kept in the game. So how does this process work, and what are you doing?
Yeah, so I got asked last year by Ryan Howard and Jimmy Rollins. They with the help of the commissioner's office, stood up a program called the Commissioner's Ambassador Program, and I'm one of the I'm in the initial class of these ambassadors, and so we get to travel to these special events, these quote unquote jewel events, and just help promote the game, and then I just got back from New York doing a summit at the commissioner's office where we got to go in and hear for some folks. One some of these rule changes already. I think the pitch clock has, revolutionized the way that the game is broadcasted, especially in the analytical world, where everything that slows the game down is valued more. So I think that the cadence of the game has kind of gone back to what it was.
Well, now joining us on A's Cast,
but I think
in other sports,
these rule changes already was, and it just makes it more consumable and more engaging. And so, yeah, I think there's some additional changes that are being talked about that interest me. I do love the fact that baseball works slowly and there's nothing, no rash decisions being made. It's deliberate and it's not without the input of the fans and other stakeholders in the game.
Is there ever like any ideas or thoughts put out there that you go, wow, I never thought of that?
Yeah, I mean, it just, I guess it depends on how far down the rabbit hole you go on social media with that, because there's some pretty radical ideas. But I think generally, I think the injuries, particularly to the pitchers, is an area that needs to be addressed. As much as it pains me to say this as a position player, you're well aware of that position player pitcher, eternal feud. But our starting pitchers are the headliners, and they're the guys that are on the tickets. Those are the guys you want to see the ace face the ace, and so having starting pitchers return to the prominence and the value that they provide, I think is really important for the game and driving engagement and having recognizable, desirable names pitching to bring people to the ballpark.
One thing I wanted to bring up with you is the art of hitting the double. And JJ Bleday, our center fielder, is at 39 doubles right now. And I've been talking about you on the show going, there's something about people who know how to hunt doubles. And the one thing that I always thought about, because no one's going to say you were the fastest player of all time, but you had a knack that when you hit it, you knew, and you busted out of the box and you were hunting doubles. So am I right? Is there an art to hunting the double?
Yeah, no, you got half of the equation right? I wasn't the fastest guy. I also wasn't the strongest guy. So I think the combination of not being the strongest, not being the fastest, but also finding the barrel a lot just leads to a lot of doubles. So I like to be a little self-deprecating that, I hit a lot of doubles because I wasn't strong enough, and I wasn't strong enough to hit, 30, 40 homers, and I wasn't fast enough to hit 10, 15 triples.
But man, you racked up an amazing amount of doubles. It was amazing how many doubles you hit.
I remember at one point Chappie was giving me a hard time because I think I Cadillac one double, and so he said you can't lead the league in doubles if you run to third.
You had 3 different stints with the A's, but it was your second stint. I'm looking at the numbers here, and you're 32, 33, 34. You make the All-Star game at 34 years old. You set the record for most doubles for the A's at the age of 39 at 49. Just looking back at that, there you are in your prime. You're in your 30s. Just what was that time like where everything was going so good for you?
Yeah, no, it was great. I mean, I think what led to that was me being healthy going into the off seasons and not having to rehab something. Actually able to build on a foundation of a healthy season. I'm very proud of the career that I had, and particularly for the perseverance that I had, because I came back from a lot of injuries, and probably at times where, people within the industry counted me out or, thought I was done. But I always found a way to bounce back. And I think those really good years I had there were kind of that culmination of being, having a good year, being healthy, and being able to build on that.
Well, you first proved you could be healthy back in Oakland. If we go to your first stint, that was just your second stint. Your first stint, you come here after just the wild 2012 season that the A's had. So you got to see that with the Astros. But then you come here and for the first time, you're on a playoff team. You play 154 games. That was a pretty good run right there the first time you came to Oakland.
Yeah, and you know, I don't know if you remember this, but 2012 actually was the last year the Astros were in the National League. So we actually didn't. I don't even think we played the A's that year. So but I was watching from the outside, and obviously the finish is unforgettable, and you know, Coco and all that, you know, all that fun stuff. So I was well aware of the situation I was going into. I was also, you know, I was coming in kind of late. I was about to leave for Florida for spring training when I got traded. So that was a kind of an about face and a later, you know, transaction than typical. And I kind of came in not really knowing what my role was going to be. They you know, they had signed somebody to play shortstop, and then I started getting some innings at shortstop. And I remember opening day, it was me at short and Eric Sogard at second, and we looked at each other and realized that we hadn't even played a single inning in spring training together up the middle.
What possibly could go wrong? Well, yeah. I remember the time you went to Bob Melvin. And you told Bob Melvin, man, if you need me, I can play third.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think you're referencing when Chappie got hurt. I can't remember what year that would have been, but yeah, you know, I think that there I had a lot of value in my versatility. I think early in my career I resisted it because, you know, I think that the value of a guy with versatility wasn't there yet. Like, you know, Zobrist ended up getting his, you know, really big deal and being valued heavily because of his versatility. But, you know, that we were talking about the old school mentality. I think that that old school mentality was the utility guy was a guy that, you know, wasn't good enough to play every day. And, you know, so I resisted it early in my career. But I think as my career went on, I realized the value in it. I think just as clubs started to realize the value in it.
Well, life obviously changes for everybody. You know, one of the great things coming back to spring training was you would go on some exotic vacations. Now with the kids, I'm not sure if you go on those same exotic vacations. Do the Lowrie still? Do you guys still travel the way you used to?
Yeah, I mean, our kids are getting to the age where they're, you know, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to take them on exotic trips when they're not going to really have any memory of it, other than maybe seeing some photos of themselves and like say, hey, that was, you know, you in Africa as a baby. So they're getting to the point now where they do, you know, they're able to remember. So we actually did a Scandinavia and Iceland trip last year. So we took them to Sweden, Denmark, Norway, and Iceland for a couple of weeks in the summer, which was a blast.
Never disappoint. I know every single time I ask that question, you never disappoint. Hey, Jed, I'm hoping at some point, I don't know, spring training, being around the team, I just, you know, getting you back in an A's uniform. I know people have asked me about that. Like what do you think? Do you think about Jed coming back? I know you got this gig going on right now as an ambassador with Major League Baseball, but someday being back in the A's uniform, whether it's spring training or whatever it would be, it'd be great to see.
Well, I appreciate that, Towny, and the A's mean a lot to me. You know, I was proud to wear the uniform. I mean, you look at the number of you know, players all the way back to the Philadelphia days that put on that uniform. You know, it's a proud organization, and I'm happy to have been a part of it.
Jed, you're the best. We always appreciate the time. You be well, and we'll check in later.
All right, Towny. Thank you.
For the Mark Kotsay Show, brought to you by Nest Bedding. Love where you sleep for all your bedding needs, your mattress, your pillows, your sheets, you name it. You go to nestbedding.com. Mark Kotsay in Chicago. How are you?
I'm well, Towny. Just trying to get through a lot of the game prep today. Our awesome system, which we titled, it's kind of an in-house system called Oasis. We get a lot of our information, a lot of our data. It's built by Rob Neighborhouse, who's our assistant general manager. It's in charge of it. Is down. So it's been down for about an hour, and I'm impatiently waiting for it to get back online.
Yeah, isn't it amazing? Technology is like the greatest thing in the world until it doesn't work.
Yeah. I mean, thankfully, everything's printed. The card's there. There's info on the card. Just waiting to finish it off,
What would it be like if you just rolled in one day and said, gentlemen, everybody turn their phones off, turn your computers off. We're just going to have a lineup card. I'm going to write up the lineup, and everybody, no video, no nothing. We're just going old school. What do you think that'd be like for everybody?
I don't think they could function out in that room. I mean, I'd be cool with it, but I don't know if that room out there would be able to function if they didn't have the 76% 2-0 fastball, count percentages to like rely on. Like, I'm not quite sure they, yeah.
It wouldn't be a very comfortable world for the players and the coaches.
There would not be comfortability. And I don't know what they would do with their downtime, because most of them are streaming Instagram reels I make my rounds and they know it. Like, I'll walk by their chair and just stand there when they're on their phone and kind of just lean over them. Like, got anything else we could be doing?
It's amazing how things are different.
It's like I'm a semi-Grim Reaper with the little outfit on when I come through there in the middle of the day, and they know, like, if they're sitting in that chair, they probably should be somewhere else.
And that can be something to say about the old days of everybody playing cards all day long in the clubhouse. What meant you're interacting with your team, right? It's like position players and pitchers, and even though they're like different units, but in the clubhouse, everybody was together playing cards and being together. It's kind of sad that we don't have that. I know we still have some of it, but we don't have it like we used to.
You know what we do? I mean, I've got a table full of guys that time themselves and compete to see who finishes the USA Today crossword first. That's awesome. I got a table that plays chess, which I wish that I would have learned how to play chess, because it's really, really good for your mind.
Yeah.
The guys play cards on the plane, and that becomes competitive. Yesterday's flight, I have to put my big Bose headphones on and put the noise canceling so I don't hear the oh yeah after a big hand or a big beat, So I will say this: my group, they do a lot together. They don't just sit on their phones. This is a really great group. Yesterday, I got a text around 11 o'clock from our strength coach, Josh Cuffey. Does an amazing job with these guys. He's like, the energy in this room is electric, and that says a lot. Like, there was probably 16 guys. We didn't hit. It was a day game after a night game, and they don't waste their time. They really don't.
I know in the past, especially becoming a game of such data where they try and, take chemistry out of the equation, because it's not something you can quantify. It's not something that you can build. You have no idea when you take something from the outside and bring it into your room if it's going to be good or not. I wish, it's like life. It's like an office. You don't know bringing someone onto your sales team or bringing someone onto your construction team, or you don't know if they're going to be good for you or not. But just talk about how what you're building going forward. Obviously, we've seen more wins this year. That is a great thing. But going forward, building with good young men, there's something special about that.
Yeah, there really is. And that your description is what we call a team, right? And our biggest part, I think, of our job as managers, obviously, is understanding the 26 individuals, right? Now, how to bring them together as a team to collectively build a mindset that the way we win is together. Now, look, I understand after playing for 17 years that each one of these individuals on my roster has an individual goal that they have to, right? It's their career. So you can have a guy walking in this room saying, I'm going to hit 300 this year. I'm going to go out and do it, or make up, a plan to do it. You got a guy who comes in, I want 30 saves. I want 30 holds. I've got to understand that mindset and be able to help them understand that without their teammates, without a commonality to go out and play together and let the game dictate the personal reward through your teammates and through doing things collectively. That's one of the biggest parts of my job. Managing the bullpen. Yeah, I get it. Like that is another huge aspect of the job. Creating matchups for guys, giving them a chance to succeed and help the team as much as possible. But really, the individual relationships, maximizing those individual relationships and helping them pursue their individual goal while helping the team win.
No, I mean, what you just said, so spot on. It's what I talk about all the time. It's like when people tried to diminish who the manager is, I said, hey, the guy that sits at the front of the plane and the guy that sits at the front of the bus. I don't care if we're talking about the head football coach, head basketball coach, manager in baseball. This guy has to manage the human beings. He's got to manage the personalities, he's got to manage the issues, he's got to manage the egos. And there's this fine line in your business right now to let it happen organically, to let the players come together. And then also there's the fine line of how do you steer it and make it happen and help with that. And because, like what you've had the last couple of years, you've had so many different people coming in and out of that clubhouse. It's really tough to do.
Yeah. At the end of the day, I mean, we all know talent wins. You look at the teams that are leading the divisions, they have proven major league talent where you flip the back of the baseball card over and there's a long laundry list of stats that represent the career, right? And that's the goal of our roster. That's, now Rooker has his second year of stats, improved in the batting average area, increased the home runs, increased the RBIs. This could be a career year. We don't know that, but now you can align those 2 years and say, okay, this is a baseline. Here's an average. This is what he's probably going to get to, and you build your roster out that way, but it takes time to get the back of the baseball card built up. And, we're seeing guys start to establish themselves now on this roster. In my opinion, it takes 500 plus at bats in the big leagues to really, know what type of hitter you have, and then you can build off that, one way or the other. So
I thought it was really fascinating to watch your team play all these walk-offs and play all these one-run games. You had 3 straight walk-off losses. It was the Thursday in Cincinnati, then the weekend in Texas, then you come home and then you get 3 straight walk-off wins. And one thing that I've been talking about is, learning how to play close games. You can learn from losses. Obviously, you can learn from when you're winning, but playing these games, learning how to be in these tough situations late in ball games, watching you have all those bunts the other night in Houston, forcing Houston to have to play defense. I mean, just talk about what your team's learning as they're playing in all these one-run or all these close games.
Yeah, I think they're learning how to win, right? And they're understanding how to win. And that goes back to, a couple minutes ago of me explaining how each individual has their own goals, individual goals, but yet, when you collectively play for the team to win, those goals are going to be met. And, that night we had 3, basically, you can call them sacrifice bunts, but, situations where, we had to maximize our abilities and take advantage of the guys that were up at the plate with their skill sets. And it just aligned that all 3 of those guys put down good bunts. We were able to, manufacture 2 runs and hold on to a win against, the division leaders right now. So I thought the series was great. I'm anxiously looking towards that Yankee and towards that Seattle series where these 2 teams, we can play against 2 teams that have impact in whether they make the postseason or whether they win the division. And that's big. And that's the type of environment that this roster needs to go through. If we go to Seattle that last weekend and they're 1 or 2 out of the division, that'll be electric. It'll be electric on the road in Seattle. Like that will be an electric environment for these guys to play in. It actually gives me chills thinking about it because, there would be nothing more that I would want for this group to be able to experience that.
Yeah, and that Yankee Baltimore for the top spot in the East, it changes like every single day. You know, who wins, who loses. It affects the division, affects the wild card. Let's end on this. You got something very, very rare. We see it sometimes out here, out west, when a team comes and they can, you know, we're in San Francisco today, and usually they stay over like to St. Francis. And if you get to play the Giants and the A's, you get to be in the same hotel room, you get to be in the same bed. You know, it's families like these trips because you get to be in the Bay Area. Well, you get to be in Chicago. I mean, you only have so many times like New York, or we only have so many 2-team markets. Like, how cool is it? Obviously, you played for the White Sox, but how cool is it to spend basically a week in Chicago and you don't have to move rooms?
Yeah, I'm not sure if I've ever experienced this. And in that, like, yeah, I'm not sure I've ever stayed in the city for 6 days on the road. I don't know if I brought enough clothes either, but, you know, it definitely, it's definitely going to be different for sure. You know, I'll let you know when we talk next time whether I liked it or I didn't, because so used to the routines, and this isn't part of the routine where you stay in the city for 6 days.
By the way, speaking of clothes, I love the shirt you got on.
Mikey Thalboom. I can't thank him enough. He ordered it, had it Amazon delivered, sent it out, got it today, put it right on. You know, couldn't be more proud of my son and his direction in college baseball. So
I know we haven't talked. Can we talk about it for a second? Can we mention it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Your son is committed to Princeton. I mean, it's big league education. You know, yes, obviously baseball is such a huge deal, and they've had big leaguers come out of Princeton, and obviously his dream is going to be like his father to be a big leaguer. But to get into a place like Princeton, that's as we like to say, the big leagues of education.
Yeah, we couldn't be more excited, and he's got a lot of work in front of him. It's his junior year, and he's got 4 AP classes, so he's got to grind. And school's important. I got a great saying that I'll share. It's awesome. Bud Black, who was one of my mentors, who hired me. It's my first coaching job on his staff as a hitting coach. So Bud Black came up to Trey, and this was like Trey's freshman year, and he said, "Trey, I'm going to tell you the rule of the 3 Bs." Trey's like, "The 3 Bs?" He's like, "Yeah, it's books, baseball, and babes, but you can only have 2. So I guess my son's kind of chosen the books and the baseball, but we'll see where that last one falls.
What happens if he's a first-round pick and he gets offered like $10 million? What are you guys going to do?
Hey, that's la la land. Like, that's dreaming. I love my son. You know, he's got work to do in front of him, and we'll see where it lands.
All right. Well, I hope you don't run out of clothes. We hope you have a good week in Chicago, and we'll talk to you next week. Will be our last Mark Kotsay show from the Coliseum.
Sounds good, Towny. Thanks, bud.
Be well. The Mark Kotsay show brought to you by NestBetting.com. Love where you sleep.
Hey, Oakland A's fans, step up to the plate with Xfinity Internet. Get the fastest speeds and low-lag streaming for an incredible viewing experience that knocks it out of the park. And you'll have a consistent connection with reduced buffering and freezing, so you can stay in all the action inning after inning. When it's game time, make sure to catch it all with internet that's powerful and reliable. Stream sports from the best seat in the house with Xfinity, because it's only live once. Actual speeds vary and not guaranteed. Many factors affect speed. For factors affecting speed, visit Xfinity.com/network management.
The A's YouTube page is your go-to destination for A's video content. Get access to great highlights, exclusive behind-the-scenes content, classic games, A's Cast Live, and more. Visit youtube.com/athletics.
This has been a presentation of the Oakland Athletics.